Hello everyone and welcome back. Yes, I'm wearing glasses because I'm going blind. Getting old really sucks. Anyway, today I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation, but I promise it's got a lot of good stuff to look at, and so you don't have just to listen to me yammering on and on. So I try to make it as quick as possible, but I always struggle when I have to read off something. So, but I do my best here, so I hope you don't judge me too harshly for it. Right, so if you like it and you want to help, remember, just please subscribe and like the video. That really helps growing the channel. And one last thing, if you are interested in participating into playtests, or anybody who might, and you have Tabletop Simulator, just get in touch and I'll get you signed up. So right, let's get started with the video. All right, first things first. Yes, the project is currently titled Project A. I do have an actual title, but I'm just gonna reveal it a bit later on, closer to the end of the actual developing cycle. So yeah, let's get started. Right, so why Project A? First of all, it's to build and improve on the success of my previous game, Darklight. And yeah, as some people were asking, why not just make a straight up sequel to Darklight? And that is because the short answer is because people have a certain expectation of what they would like to see in a Darklight, especially people that have already bought the previous game. So I would have to work within the constriction imposed by my previous design and the previous, let's call them limitations. So instead, if I work on a new IP, I have the freedom to adjust things that makes development a lot more easy, and I can create a lot more ideas without upsetting the people that were previously were big fans of the franchise. So, and at the same time also, why this project is because to create a story that is really action-packed and yeah, and to enjoy with your family and friends. So the adventure itself is heavily story driven, and I will get on to the meaning of that specifically later on. And yeah, and it is a dungeon crawler, and it is also a base management game. So as well as going through dungeons, you will also have to take care of something called an outpost, which will be where will be setting off your operation, let's say. And so what are the unique features of this game? As well as the mix of base management, as I already discussed, there will be also personal character growth, so very customizable character development, and there will be tailored boss fights, and I will get onto that as well later, and a large lore tree for you to research and discover, and an underutilized fantasy theme with a uniquely crafted lore, which stands for something that it just doesn't always seem to be seen in other projects, which I often find to like leaning toward one side or the other. I'm trying to create something more unique here, essentially. All right. So what does it really mean, an interactive story? The idea is born out of a retro adventure books where you have a clear set of options to choose from with no real wrong choice, but rather alternative paths which you will define the outcome of your actions and replayability. So yeah, it's as I said, it's basically you choose your the outcome of certain decisions that you will be presented, and you choose what course of action to take. You will have the freedom to decide, but unlike the old books, there isn't really a major, you choose the path that leads you to your death and that's it. Everything ends just because you chose left instead of right. So that won't be the case. On its surface, your goal is clear and simple: slay the Mad Queen to complete the game. But the layers beneath the story goes a lot deeper than you might think. So yes, I present the story as in a way that is quite simple, like you know what your goal is in the game. But initially you will not really know why you're doing this, or exactly what are the ramifications of this decision, but you will be told why you have to do this. You will be explained it, but obviously you can uncover more about it as you play the game and understand why exactly. Existentialism is the main theme. What does it really mean to have free will? And can the deterministic nature of the universe, if there is such a thing, be changed? So while, again, on the surface it can be interpreted as quite a simple story, I'm trying to touch themes that are a little bit deeper than that. And I always find that most of these type of games have very simple goals, kill the bad guy and that's it, game over, you win. But I want to challenge players a little bit more. I want to try to make them figure out for themselves what it all means, what the real meaning behind everything you're doing actually means. And yeah. Every detail of the world and the universe itself has been fleshed out and refined over the course of 5 years. And that is true because a lot of the ideas that I've had while making this game, I had them when I was actually making my previous game. So, I didn't have place for those ideas. So I just put them on the side, write them down, and then over the years I just refine them essentially. This story takes place in Morterra, which is only a relatively small country in a huge world shrouded in mystery, different ideologies and the religious beliefs. So yes, as you can see from the map itself, Morterra is like, let's say, the size of a country like England in the grand scope of things in the whole world. But a lot of other places have already been, sort of largely fleshed out. And so there is a lot about it. And, it's my passion to create worlds. And even though obviously you won't be able to experience all of it at this point, it's nice to feel that there is more out there. You're not just the story is not just the world is not just this little story and that's it. Which I often find seems to be the case in games. When you have it's like the whole world is centered around a city or around a specific place, and I don't know, it always feels so unrealistic to me. But let's keep going. Real inspiration comes from the kingdom of Naples and the relation which its people have to the sea, death and spirituality. This heavily contributed to a lot of the visual aspects of the game itself, such as its marine traits, as well as characters' backgrounds. So yeah, I always find that games often take that fantasy sort of Tolkien-esque or that sort of type of fantasy that we've seen many times. So I'm trying to instead to go for something a little bit more unique, more that like less seen, let's say. So the Kingdom of Naples, was obviously a decision I made because I am from Naples, and I think it's there is so much cool stuff in there that it feels like if you could. If you have experienced it, if you have gone through the catacombs or things that are so creepy and scary, it feels like it was made to be a fantasy dark game, So yeah, a lot of the stuff is so cool, and I thought, why nobody has ever done things with these motives and things that, because these things are real, and people I think appreciates when there is the kind of element of realism in stories. It's kind of like when you're trying to tell a ghost story based around real events, So it makes it more, that gives it that extra edge, I suppose. So next is the gameplay. The adventures, which in the games I call tales rather than quests, just for several reasons, but I won't get into those right now. 4 characters, regardless of the number of players, will always be the protagonist of the randomly generated mazes and predetermined maps. This made it possible for a design which favors player cooperation rather than individual survival. So when I feel like when a game allows you to play less than the optimal numbers of heroes, it kind of restricts a lot of the strategy that you really are presented and a lot of the design choices. So for instance, like to give a really quick example, there are parts of the game where your character, as they walk, they can fall and climb, like just hang by the ledge of a precipice or such. And if you're alone, you will not be able to get back up. You basically die. Well, defeat in the case of the rules of this game. But because you have 4 people with you, 3 other, they will be able to pull you up. But your friends needs to be by your side. They can't just abandon you and do their own thing. So everything really favors toward sticking together and trying to be as a team, essentially, which I often don't see in this type of games. Often everybody is kind of like the unique, I'm gonna kill everything as inside, with no real difference between characters. So the action is fast and does not stop each time you collect a new item. The game rewards the entire party only at the end of each adventure based on the total score they have achieved together. So the idea is that I often also feel like when you play a dungeon crawler, you stop a lot. Like, you stop to check what item you got, and people discuss how to use it, who to give it to. There is a lot of, downtime, which it just stops the momentum, which I think is a really important aspect of this type of games. So instead, this game kind of like you collect everything you need to collect, and you put it into your pile, this hoard of things that you have. And then at the end of the tale, you are told, okay, what did you get? And okay, you also given a score and say, from this score, what would you like to use the score with? Would you like more items, more currency, more experience, and so on, basically. And you can decide that with your friends, like sort of like after the action is done. The rules are simple and easy to learn, but the variety of options expands as you progress through the game. New abilities, equipment, masteries, and even mental traumas will change the way your characters behave. So, I'm also not a fan of having to go through like thick rule manuals, like when a game becomes so complicated that when you have friends over, it takes forever to explain to them, and most of them don't really understand anyway until they play like two or three games. So I wanted to make something that it's very straightforward to play. And the very base concept of this game is actually just on a few pages. You don't need a lot of rules to make it happen. But the extra rules, the extra things that basically, when you level up and, when the outpost rules, those are, are extra things. But the core concept itself is extremely simple. The rules are very intuitive and easy to play. And I made sure, and I'm making sure of this by, having people that are not super experienced in this type of game play the game and see if they grasp the concept that I'm presenting. And so while at the beginning you only have like a few things to deal with, so you don't have like 10 skills or you have to read so much text or anything. You only have pretty much like 2 or 3 things you can really do, from point of view of which attacks can you do, 1 attack, and which abilities do you have, 1 ability, and what action, special action you have, or you have your 1 defensive and 1 explorative or 1 not action. So you're limited in that, but as you keep going, you will unlock new abilities. So you will expand that range, but you will get more and more used to slowly, and you won't just be bombarded by new things all at once, which will make it really hard to keep playing, essentially. So that's the philosophy, the core of the philosophy for this game. Okay, so a little bit about the boss battles now. Bosses will feature their own patterns of behavior based on the unique randomized decks. So some of you might be familiar with games which feature bosses, and you kind of need to build a deck for those bosses before the battle starts. So you might get not all the move sets that this monster can do all the time, but that makes it fun for when you replay it. Like every time I do, I never seen that move. That's a really cool move. Or how do we deal with this move that he's never done this before? So at least that's the goal. That's the idea. It is important that you find the right strategy when it comes to positioning the playing characters because of the dangers of standing in the wrong spot or on the wrong side of the boss. So just for bosses, they will have an orientation, so they will have a forward and back, and you will be able to sort of move around them, and to gain advantage, or perhaps to dodge certain attacks that only affects the front of the boss or the sides, for instance. You will be able to choose which part of the body to attack without knowing the effects of wounding said part until you do. Not all will be beneficial. For instance, blinding a certain creature might enrage them and make their attacks more unpredictable and dangerous. So yes, you might think, oh, this I'm trying to target this big this guy's big eye, and then you don't really know what's gonna happen. Could the eye burst and into some kind of shockwave that is really bad, and for the rest of the fight? Could he just have any other secret and hidden effects? But you don't know this, so you will have different, like I say, each boss has its own sides and part of the body you can target and experiment. Maybe once you damage a certain part, the whole battle could change. The boss could stop doing certain attacks, or maybe it's not able to anymore. But I don't want to spoil too much just now. So about the outposts. Guided by the enigmatic Lady Limfrea, you will find respite from your tales within the outpost. So yeah, this character will be sort of center focus for you on your outposts. During the outpost phase, time will flow in weeks. During each week, you can build, research, and go on tales, or interact with facilities you have created. And yes, if you're familiar with games that have base building, such as XCOM, it's kind of like that, I guess you could say. You have just built things that you might really need for your character, or even darkest dungeons, I suppose. If you build certain facilities that can help you on your next adventures, or they will unlock part of the story that they were previously not available to you. To advance the story, you will sometime have to gather a certain amount of resources, unlock researches, or construct buildings, while making sure the global threat counter will not reach the critical threshold and cause the end of your adventures. So yes, there will be sort of like a global countdown in a sense, and you will have to manage that, making sure it doesn't get too far up, because if that happens, then the game is just over permanently, and you will have to restart the campaign. But the idea is that certain missions, certain quests or tales will basically lower down this threat, or maybe certain researches or things that you unlock and things that you can do. But it will always be up to you to discover what to do, and it will be part of the actual gameplay itself to understand some of the mechanics of the game. So you're definitely not expected to win the game on the first go. And here is a bit of an example of a research tree, and mine, this is just like a literally placeholder graphic, but it's just to illustrate a point I'm trying to tell here. To unlock a new piece of research, you will spend lore gathered during your tales. So yes, it's a resource that you will find in some places, like libraries, for example. A bookcase might grant some lore, and then like a currency that you can spend, and time as well, obviously, you can use it to unlock certain researches, and obviously certain researchers will make other researchers available, and so on. So it's like, but you will not necessarily know at first what benefits these things will unlock, and sometimes some will gather amazing bonuses, and other times they might gather just unlock part of the story that will help you reach location that you before you couldn't reach. As well as a blurb of flavor of lore text, which will reveal more about the world, certain researches will allow you to improve your outposts or increase your chances of surviving a battle. As I previously explained, you will also get a nice paragraph of text, which will be part of the story itself. So it's optional, obviously, so you don't have to read through it, but it will basically put you better in the world itself. It will make you understand things that perhaps before were a bit more unclear, and sometimes it might really surprise you what you discover. So in conclusion, this project won't be easy to complete. The goals set are very high, but so are the rewards for the years of sacrifice, love and passion that went into making of this game. Without your encouragement and support, I could not have reached the current state of development. So yes, it is really hard what I'm trying to do, especially at the moment, working mostly during the mainly during the evenings and weekends, just trying to make the best of it in the time that I have, and by myself. And so it's a big challenge, but I love what I do, and it's a lot of fun. My primary goal is to make sure that the game is fun and solid the way it works. I'm not motivated by money. It was the same with Darklight, to be honest. It's never been a motivation, and it shouldn't be for this type of project, because it's just basically, it's like a hobby turned into passion, business kind of thing. So it just, the fact that I can share it with people, it's just wonderful for me, rather than just my own friends. For me, it's the idea of sharing with all of you, which is great. It's wonderful. So yeah, and I have to thank everybody that up to this point, they keep encouraging me, they keep telling me to keep on going. You're all really, really a big help, and it makes such a huge difference. Honestly, it's so encouraging to have all of your kind words to help me going. So so just to conclude the video, I'm just gonna say, as always, that if you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like the video. That's a great way of helping me. And feel free to write any comments you have, any questions, desires or things you wish to see in the game, and let's start a conversation. All right, so I'm just gonna end the video right here then. All right, take care, guys. Bye.